At 35, Ethan Miller sat alone in his car outside a closed office building. The lights were off, the parking lot was empty, and for the first time in his adult life, he had nowhere to go in the morning. 2 hours earlier, he'd been laid off. No warning, no second chances. Just a short, cold meeting, a forced smile from HR, and a cardboard box holding 15 years of his life. Family photos, a coffee mug that said hard work pays off. The irony burned like acid. Ethan wasn't lazy. He wasn't reckless. He had done everything he was supposed to do, everything right. He got the college degree. He found a stable job. He was a loyal employee, a provider for his wife and young daughter. He built his life on that foundation, but in an instant, none of it mattered. He drove home in a heavy silence, rehearsing explanations he never wanted to give. How do you tell your family that the life they depend on just cracked wide open? How do you explain that the security you promised is gone? That night, Ethan didn't sleep, but it wasn't because of panic, not yet. It was because his mind was stuck on a loop, repeating one brutal, relentless question: if my job is gone, who am I now? For years, Ethan had unknowingly tied his entire sense of worth to a title on a business card. Project manager. Reliable. Needed. His identity was his job. Now that title was gone, and his confidence went with it. The weeks that followed were a slow, grinding descent into self-doubt. His inbox filled with polite rejections. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. The savings account, once a source of pride, started to shrink at an alarming rate. And the voice of self-doubt grew louder every single day, whispering that he was a failure. He started waking up later. He stopped shaving. He stopped believing in himself. The simplest things felt impossibly hard. One afternoon, his daughter, with all the innocence in the world, looked up at him and asked, "Daddy, why don't you go to work anymore?" Ethan forced a smile and lied. "Oh, I'm just working from home right now, sweetie." But inside, hearing those words come out of his mouth, something inside him shattered. That night, after everyone else was asleep, he sat alone at the kitchen table, the same table where his family shared their meals and their lives. He took out a piece of paper and wrote 3 words. This is not me. It wasn't a plan. It wasn't a solution, but it was an anchor. This fear, this feeling of failure, this quiet surrender, this was not him. That sentence marked the end of the fall and the beginning of the quiet rebuild. Instead of mindlessly firing off hundreds more applications into the digital void, Ethan paused. For the first time, he asked himself a question he had been avoiding for years. What am I actually good at, and what do people actually need? The answer was uncomfortable, but it was powerful. He realized his job had paid the bills. Yes, but it had stopped growing him. He had become complacent, comfortable in a role that no longer challenged him. So he started over, quietly, secretly, almost every morning at 6 a.m., before the sun was up, before his family woke. He would sit at that kitchen table and study. He devoured online courses, watched tutorials, and used every free resource he could find. He taught himself data analysis, automation tools, and the kind of modern problem-solving skills he saw companies were actually paying for. There was no applause. No one was cheering him on. No one even knew he was doing it. There was no guarantee any of it would work. But Ethan made a simple rule for himself: 1 hour a day. No excuses. Some days he felt motivated, energized by a small breakthrough. Most days, he didn't. He was tired, discouraged, and fighting the urge to just go back to bed. But he showed up anyway, 1 hour, every single day. He was building something new, brick by invisible brick. 3 months later, his effort paid off, sort of. Ethan landed his first freelance project. It was a small gig, and the pay was less than his old hourly wage. But it paid him something far more valuable: proof. Proof that he could still create value in the world. Proof that he wasn't obsolete. And then, the client disappeared without paying. He just vanished. Ethan stared at the email thread, the unanswered messages. First came disbelief, then anger, then a wave of pure, hot shame. He felt like a fool. He almost quit that night. The voice of doubt came roaring back, telling him this was a sign that he should just give up. But something had shifted in him. Instead of shutting down, he adjusted. He took the hit as a lesson, not a defeat. He learned about contracts, he improved his communication. He raised his standards for who he would work with, he got smarter. Slowly, carefully, other projects started to come in. They were small at first. A data cleanup job here, a short consulting task there, then they got slightly bigger. He was still working from that same laptop, at the same kitchen table, where he once felt so utterly broken. Only now, he felt different. He felt dangerous in the best possible way. He was in control. Exactly 1 year after losing his job, an email landed in his inbox. It was an offer, a full-time remote role. The pay was better than his old job, the hours were flexible, and the work was exciting, challenging him in ways he hadn't been challenged in years. When the official offer letter arrived, he didn't jump up and celebrate. He just sat there quietly for a moment, and he thought about that man in the car, sitting alone in the dark parking lot, convinced his life was over. It wasn't over, it was just being redirected. His life hadn't ended, it had been forced to begin again. The lesson Ethan learned is the one he now teaches. He didn't become successful overnight. He didn't win because of luck or some hidden talent. He won because he refused to let one painful loss define his entire identity. Today, he mentors other people who've been laid off. People who feel invisible, replaceable, and stuck, just like he did. And he tells them all the same thing. Losing your job can feel like losing yourself. But sometimes, it's the first moment you finally get to meet the person you are truly capable of becoming. If you're watching this right now and you feel like you're behind, if your plan collapsed, if your confidence has taken a massive hit, I need you to hear this. Really hear this. You are not finished. You are not broken. You are being rebuilt. And rebuilds take time. They are messy and they are hard. But they last. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this.